Table for one, party of my solo diner brought a whole imaginary crew. I've seen my fair share of oddball requests in my time as a server, from people wanting their steak cooked Pittsburgh rare, still not entirely sure what that is, and frankly, slightly afraid to ask again, to the lady who insisted her water glass be refilled with bottled water, but only Evian and only poured from a newly opened bottle at each refill. Spoiler, she complained about the bill. But last night, I think I peaked in terms of table-side theater. A gentleman, probably in his late 50s, impeccably dressed in a suit, walks in and asks for a table for one. No problem, we seat him at a nice booth by the window. He's perfectly polite, orders a glass of Merlot, peruses the menu, all very normal. Then things started to get theatrical. He orders the salmon Wellington, and as I'm about to walk away, he clears his throat and says, quite loudly, "And for my associate, the lobster thermidor, please. Medium rare on the lobster, if you would be so kind." He prefers it slightly under. I blinked. I looked around. He was alone, completely alone. I politely asked, "Certainly, sir. And for your other guest?" He looked slightly taken aback, as if I was the one being dense. "For Miss Dubois, the Chateaubriand, naturally. She's watching her carbs. So steamed asparagus instead of potatoes if possible, and tell chef to go light on the béarnaise. She's been naughty this week." At this point, I'm trying not to laugh, or stare, or question my own sanity. I just nodded, wrote it all down, and excused myself to the kitchen, where I recounted the whole bizarre order to the chef and the bartender, who were equally bewildered. We decided to just play along. Why not? It's not hurting anyone, and it's certainly more interesting than the usual Friday night rush. Throughout the meal, he continued to converse with his guests. He gestured to the empty chairs, laugh at their jokes, and even pour imaginary wine for them. "Oh, come on, Dubois, just one more glass. You're on vacation," he'd boom, then chuckle to himself as if she just cracked a hilarious retort. He even asked me to clear their plates, commenting on how much they enjoyed the meal. Ms. Dubois said the Chateaubriand was exquisite, truly top-notch, and my associate here practically inhaled the lobster. Compliments to the chef. The best part, when it came time for dessert, he ordered a slice of our signature chocolate cake, for the table to share, of course. He then proceeded to cut 3 imaginary slices, offering them to his phantom companions before taking a bite himself and declaring it simply divine. He tipped generously, thanked me profusely for my attentive service to his party, and left with a flourish, presumably to rejoin his invisible entourage. I'm still trying to figure out what to make of it. Was it some elaborate performance art, a coping mechanism, just plain eccentricity? Whatever it was certainly a night I won't soon forget. And honestly, in this job, a little bit of weirdness is a welcome change of pace. Okay, this server deserves an award for playing along with that imaginary dinner party. If you appreciate servers rolling with the weird, you should definitely subscribe right now for more tales from your server. The Great Salt Packet Heist, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Absurdity. Working in a diner, you see all sorts. Early morning regulars nursing coffees and reading newspapers, families with screaming toddlers fueled by syrup and sugar, the occasional hungover college student desperately seeking greasy sustenance. But some days you get a customer that just transcends categorization. And this was one of those days. It started innocently enough. A woman, mid-40s, sensible shoes, cardigan, the whole soccer mom on a Tuesday vibe, sits at the counter and orders a coffee and a bagel with cream cheese. Standard stuff. I bring her order, she thanks me politely, and everything seems normal. About 5 minutes later, I'm refilling coffee down the counter when I notice her subtly pocketing salt packets. Not just 1 or 2, she's systematically clearing the salt caddy next to her, slipping packet after packet into her purse with the practiced ease of a seasoned pickpocket. I initially thought maybe she needed them for something, like maybe she was making a salt dough craft project later, or had a sudden overwhelming craving for pure sodium chloride, but then she moved on to the sugar caddy, and the sweet and low, and the equal. She was like a tiny cardigan-clad vacuum cleaner, sucking up every single condiment packet within arm's reach. I watched utterly fascinated as she amassed a small arsenal of single-serve seasonings in her handbag. It was like watching a bizarre slow-motion heist movie, but instead of diamonds and jewels, the target was table condiments. Finally, she finishes her bagel, asks for her check, and as I'm ringing her up, she casually asks, "Do you have any extra salt?" I almost choked on my own spit. I managed to keep a straight face and replied, yes ma'am, we have plenty. I gestured to the overflowing salt caddies lining the counter, the very ones she had just pilfered moments before. She looked around, feigned surprise, and then with a completely straight face said, "Oh well, aren't those just decorative?" I thought they were just for show. Decorative salt? In a diner? I nearly lost it. I just smiled, handed her the check, and walked away shaking my head in disbelief. She paid, left a perfectly normal tip, which honestly was almost more surprising than the salt packet larceny, and walked out presumably to go home and build a condiment packet fortress or something. I still don't understand it. Was it some kind of compulsive behavior? A bizarre form of kleptomania targeted specifically at diner condiments? Or was she just planning the most epic picnic ever and needed to be prepared for any and all seasoning emergencies? Whatever the reason, it definitely made my shift a whole lot more interesting, and now whenever I see a customer subtly eyeing the condiment caddies, I can't help but chuckle to myself, remembering the great salt packet heist of 23. My customer thought bottomless mimosas meant challenge accepted. Sunday brunch, the two words that strike fear into the heart of every server. It's a beautiful chaos of eggs Benedict, hollandaise nightmares, and the never-ending chorus of, "Can I get a refill on my coffee, water, mimosa?" But last Sunday was particularly memorable, thanks to one table that took the concept of bottomless mimosas to a whole new and slightly terrifying level. A group of 4 women, clearly out for a celebratory brunch, were seated in my section. They were lively, laughing, and immediately ordered the bottomless mimosas. Okay, standard brunch crowd. I brought their first round, explained the rules, 2 hours, must order food, please drink responsibly, the usual spiel, and went about my other tables. Okay, within the first hour, they were enthusiastic participants in the bottomless aspect of the deal. I'm talking refills every 10 minutes and sometimes faster. They were charming, polite, even tipped well, so I wasn't complaining exactly, just slightly concerned about their collective blood alcohol content. They were keeping me hopping, but hey, it's brunch, it's busy, it's part of the job. Then things started to escalate. One of the women, let's call her Brenda, because why not, seemed to view the bottomless mimosas not as a beverage option, but as a personal challenge. She started timing me. "Okay, server, let's see how fast you are this time. Ready, set, refill," she'd yell, holding up her empty glass like a trophy. It was so unsettling, but also kind of darkly humorous. Her friends were egging her on, chanting "Brenda, Brenda, Brenda" every time I approached their table with the mimosa carafe. It was like a bizarre, boozy sporting event, and I was the unwitting referee, beverage provider. I tried to subtly slow down the refills, spacing them out a bit more, offering water, suggesting they try some of the delicious brunch food they had ordered, which, bless their hearts, they actually were eating, albeit between mimosa chugging sessions. But Brenda was relentless. She was determined to win this unspoken bottomless mimosa challenge she had apparently invented. By hour 2, she was slurring her words slightly, her laughter was bordering on manic, and she was still holding her empty glass aloft, demanding refills with the unwavering focus of an Olympic athlete. Finally, the 2-hour mark approached. I went to their table, braced myself, and announced, "Ladies, just a heads up, bottomless mimosas are ending in 15 minutes, last call." Brenda looked at me, eyes slightly glazed over, and declared with the gravitas of a seasoned general addressing her troops, 15 minutes? That's plenty of time for one last stand. And with that, she slammed her glass on the table, signaling the start of the mimosa equivalent of the Battle of the Alamo. I managed to survive the last 15 minutes. Though I'm pretty sure I aged about 5 years in the process, they eventually paid, left a surprisingly generous tip, again bless their hearts, and wobbled out the door, Brenda leading the charge, still vaguely chanting "bottomless, bottomless," as they disappeared into the Sunday afternoon. I just stood there amidst the empty mimosa glasses and scattered orange peels, wondering if I had just witnessed the peak of human absurdity, and also maybe ordering myself a very large, very stiff drink after my shift. Brenda turned bottomless mimosas into an Olympic sport. Servers know this brunch struggle is real. If you relate, smash that like button and subscribe for more server stories. Have a good day, everyone.